Hey there folks, welcome back to the channel. Today in this video, I'm going to do a bit of work here with my trusty brush cutter. As you can see, the weeds are getting a bit out of control. My wood storage area needs a bit of a sort out. Got a lot of rubbish over there we need to burn, so we've got to get a bit of a bonfire going on. Basically, we're just going to have a bit of a tidy up today. With that said, the first thing I'm going to do is prep my brush cutter on my Strimmer. This is a Stihl FS90. I've had it about 6 years and it is a proper solid bit of kit. I've got in it here a tiller head, I think it's called. It's like a mini cultivator or a mini rotavator. It's a really cool attachment. I use it mainly for going around the base of the trees to break up the soil so that the water can penetrate more easily. It doesn't just run off. Water's pretty rare around here, so you need to sort of make the most out of every drop. But we don't need it to kick things off. We're going to go back to the old typical sort of line Strimmer head. That's what we're going to start off with. It's pretty straightforward. You grab the key that comes with it. It's just 2 little screws there, which are obviously loose. And it's the same 2 screws this side here. So you just undo them, like so. And then the whole thing just slides off, like so. Job's a good one. Got to remove the guide as well. And this bad boy just slides on like that. Okay, there we go. Simple as that. Just put this to one side because we'll need it a bit later on. Now we've swapped that out, we need to reline our Strimmer head here. This little bar's pretty nifty. It comes with the brush cutter. It's a little tiny hole in here where you slip it down, and as you're spinning this, eventually it'll lock like that, and now that's locked. When you're unscrewing these, they're a reverse thread, so what it means is as it's spinning, it's always locking itself, so it doesn't unscrew and fly off and cause some serious harm. So you've got to go opposite thread, and that just pops off. Just let that drop down there, and then we need to pop this open. Either side, 2 little levers we've got to push on, and they just sort of pop up like that, and then to the side as well, and pops up like that. And the whole thing comes off. And as you can see here, we've got some existing line, which obviously got stuck and snapped. So I normally put 2 meters either side, 2 meters on the bottom one, 2 meters on the top one, which is basically one of them, 2 of them. And on the bottom here, it's got arrows indicating which direction to wind it up, which is cool. So we're going to do the top one first, because otherwise it gets in the way if we do it the other way around. There's a little tiny place where you can pop the string in to keep it tight, and it goes in and goes this way. So you've got to wind it tight, but not too tight. It doesn't want to stick. One of the things that tends to help is if you wet this, so you keep your Strimmer line, overnight in a bucket, and it just tends to make it a bit more pliable, so it doesn't snap as easy. So that's a good little tip, really. It says it on the box anyway, so it's not really a tip. It's just stating the obvious. It's got a little clip to lock it off in like that. Now, what happens if you do the bottom one first? When you lock it over, it's actually coming across, and it gets in the way. So you always load the top one first to avoid that happening. And again, wind it up. So there we go. You see it's getting to the end, and then this is what I'm talking about. You see, you've got to come across and pop it in there to lock it off. You see, so it's come across, and that's why load the top one first. Right then, put the spring back in. The spring is required because it's self-extending. As you're going along, if you slap it down on the button there, the spring allows it to move up, and as it moves up, you've got teeth inside there. As it moves up, these teeth here can spin one turn, releasing line out. It's one at a time, 1 tooth at a time, so it might need multiple goes, but it's quite straightforward, simple design, and really easy to manage. So you've got these metal bits here where obviously the Strimmer line comes out, so you just got to make sure you line those up. And you've obviously got to line the teeth up as well. So we're going to pop that one out and put it in there like that. And the same, that side, like that. Now you keep a bit of pressure on the spring so it doesn't pop off. So one hand holds it, that goes over. The other hand holds it now, you're in position. Pop the little locking levers back in place and just sort of manipulate it down. Sometimes it's quite stiff, fairly rigid plastic, but there you go. Then you can hear it pop. Now it's good to go, and you can see the action there. Look, that's to allow the line to come out. And then it's just the opposite to put it back on. and then it'll stop. So you make sure this pin is in position again. There we go, and then just crack it. One thing I've done to save a bit of time, especially if I'm going away from the house and working like down the other end of the field there, is I've got 4 or 5 of these heads, and I tend to just load them up the night before, get them ready to go. So rather than doing this whole process, taking all this gear with me down the road there, we just take the heads ready to go, and we just take the little bar like that, and we just pop off the whole head and pop on a new one. It takes literally 15-20 seconds, and then we're strimming again. As you've seen, this takes a bit of a while. We're just going to give it a bit of a juice, and she's good to go. This hasn't been run, can you believe it, for 6 months. Throughout the summer, it's just too hot. It's been a really dry autumn as well. It hasn't rained, so that the weeds just haven't really grown. There we go. It hasn't been started for a while, but I'm putting my faith in German engineering. Right, so now that she's fueled up, we need to put her in the start position. Clamp nose back down and move it all the way backwards and release. That's now locked at almost max revs. We've got the choke and we've got the primer. So first of all, we've got to prime it. Get the fuel. It's like a manual pump basically. It just sucks up fuel and pushes it into the carburetor. One more time. Good look. Oh, it's definitely stiff. And then we flip the choke on. And then we've got to give it some. I can't believe it started first time. Once you fire it up, you've got to knock the choke off, otherwise it'll run rough, and then you're better off just dropping it in neutral as well. In theory, it'll start first time now without the choke. It's not even hot. So what I tend to do is leave it running, get it warmed up. Before we get to it, I'll just lay out the plan for you. First of all, with the line strimmer, we're going to strim all this area and get it all nice and flat. Then we're going to put the tiller head back on. I'm going to prepare an area over there, all nice and mashed up, rotivated, because then we're going to drag all of this stuff over there, which is basically just offcuts from the bougainvillea and the stuff outside, the trumpet vine. That all needs burning. That's been drying out basically since May last year. So that's our bonfire. But because I don't like to waste stuff, we're going to take advantage and we're going to have a cook up on that later as well. Then this stuff here, this is actually almond wood, and this is really good for cooking on. I don't like to just burn that on a bonfire. We're going to break that down and store it over there with the rest of the wood. The pallets and all this stuff, we're going to clear out of the way, get them to one side, and we'll be looking at how many of those are good enough to keep. And then finally, the rest of the wood, which is just off camera there, we're going to try and organise all that as well and get it looking nice and tidy. So that's what we're tasked with today. That's most of the line strimming taken care of pretty much. So we're going to put the tiller head back on. We're going to prep an area, clear away all the debris, just get soil so we can light the bonfire. We've just tilled just this area here. It's just soil. There's no damp associated to all the green stuff we've just cut down, which is obviously full of water. So we're going to drag all those offcuts over to this area, and we're going to start a bonfire. Okie dokie, last one. The rest just leaves and my rake handle is broken, so it's gonna have to wait for another day, I'm afraid. Some heat coming off that. I think an hour or so, and we're ready to do some cooking.